Hey there folks, rinimt here, and welcome back to Game of Fortune. In the last part, we were hunted by a jaguar in a supermarket. Game, of course. But we all made it out, so... Are you ready to find out who made it through out of door 1? Of course we got William. Hey guys, looks like the others made it here. Oh, Elizabeth lived this time. It seems that you've all survived. Quite the reversal compared to last round, if I do say so myself. All 4 of you, huh? Everyone from the first group was lounging around, seemingly surprised that we had all survived together. You're acting as though you're surprised. Did you not expect any of us to make it through our game? Well, it's not a matter of that, more so what it means. When we got through our game, I was thinking it would be more likely that you all would lose at least one person in yours, but seems the luck was on your side. Could have ended with more of us killed, that's for sure. We had to basically find stuff in the supermarket all while a horrible beast was hunting us. And you survived all that too. Well, it's not like we got out without a scratch. Damn thing nearly killed 3 of us. But because of Clyde's quick thinking and bravery, he was able to save us all. Maria lashed onto my arm and leaned into me. He was our hero! She's overstating things a little. You get 3 people killed in one game and turn into a hero the next? What are you, some kind of shifter? I did what I had to do to try and keep us alive. Why? Don't you want to win? You're gonna be busy trying to save other people. You're just giving everyone a chance to stab you in the back and beat you. Ugh. Well, that's my problem. I don't see how you can talk, seeing as every group you've been in has survived completely. By chance. If I was given an opportunity to win by myself, I would. You'd even abandon your partner, Elizabeth, was it? William turned to Elizabeth, who had been quietly listening in on the conversation, but seemed attentive once her name was brought up. Abandon is a harsh word, but yeah, I cut her off and do what I'd have to do to win. That's why we're all here, isn't it? She'd understand. I'm sure that she'd do the same if she were in my shoes. He's shown himself to be pretty cutthroat. It's admirable in a way. You think that sort of thing is admirable? Who wants to deal with someone who just betrays everyone around him? Always looking over your shoulder for someone to get out to get you? It sounds like a scary life. It does, doesn't it? But ultimately, it's what will win you the game here. Well, now, I guess we'll see in the end. And just like that, the mood in the room became even more tense. Jeez, see, people just love making everything uncomfortable. Can you talk about, like, anything positive? Relationships, experiences, hopes, favorite foods, favorite books. What's everyone's favorite book? Let me know. I don't know, I have a hard time picking a favorite. At least as of right now when I'm recording this, I am reading Life of Pi though, finally. I watched the movie years ago and I'm finally reading the book. Anyway, I think trying to force a good time out of any of these people would be like trying to lift a boulder up a slope while underwater. An apt description, but I'd like to think I'm not that soul-crushing. Either way, we start deciding what rooms we want to enter in for the next round. Wait, already? Should we see who's gonna come out from the last door? Are you an idiot? The hell's your problem? There's no one else coming. Did you bother counting? 4 plus 4 is 8. And? What William is trying to say that the last group will likely be given a game they cannot win. Since every round, exactly 4 people must die, their group of 4 will have to play something that will inevitably get them all killed. What? But Belle said that every game was fair, that they get a fair chance of victory. How can a game be fair if you're destined to lose from the start? That rule isn't applied to the last room for this exact scenario, I'd imagine. And every other round has all the participants survive. We need exactly 4 people dead. The last room is essentially just a slaughterhouse. So you're saying that whatever game they're playing now is, yes, a rigged game meant for them to lose. Unfortunate as it is, that's simply how things are meant to be. I look back at the door as a flurry of thoughts began to run through my mind. What if I left Maria and Alphonse to die? Would some of the others have a chance to live? Was that fair? Were my actions the cause of their deaths? Lilith, Laura, Jay, Grant, each of them were going to just die like that? Guilt began to coil around my heart like a snake, and I began to wonder if maybe I was the reason they were suffering now. Maria jostled me slightly and pulled me back into reality. I guess there's nothing to be done about it then. Let's just hope whatever Belle is putting them through is painless. Knowing her, they're probably in some sadistic game of torture, but you're right, there's no point fretting about it. Instead, let's focus more on our futures. Right. I took a deep breath and looked at the 2 doors ahead of me. I want to go through the first door. Oh, afraid if you go through the last door, you'll be a similar fate as the others. Yeah, I'd rather not leave things up to chance. I see. If that's the case, do you mind if I accompany you? I guess I don't see a reason why not. Theresa, are you sure that's the route you want to go? What's wrong? Are you gonna miss me? Come on, let me play with some more people so I can deal with you all the time. Guys, I'm sure you'd better keep an eye on someone else, wouldn't you? And just remember your place. Don't you worry, I know exactly where I stand. What's that all about? Don't you worry about it, just a little spat. It happens all the time. Doesn't sound like a healthy relationship. We're not in a relationship. Well, not a romantic one anyway. A professional relationship might be more apt. Oh, that's neither here nor there. After all, only one of us can win this game, right? True. Clyde, do you mind if I join you again? Sure, I don't mind. It'd be good to have someone familiar around. Yeah, honestly, among Maria and Alphonse, but their energy is a bit much for me. You're a lot easier to get along with. Since camaraderie between the 2 of you, something must have happened in the past few games now. Don't think too much about it, we're just both in a similar situation. We've lost someone close to us, and we just managed to get through a game together. Our solidarity isn't something you need to pry deep into. Touchy, I think I understand it. I'd be a little upset if I lost my dad and my best friend. Doubly so if I thought I was the reason I killed them. Hey, I don't need you making comments on that. Sorry, I'll mind my tongue from now on. Even though she said that I couldn't help but notice the amusement on her face. She enjoyed watching my anger flare up and my guilt show itself. If you're going to be in a group of 3, would you mind if I were to participate with you? You want to go with them? What? Are you telling me or something already? Don't be so weak-willed. I've accompanied you through 2 games already. Surely you can think for yourself, can't you? Yeah, but I'm only playing a game with that muscle gorilla and those 2. Muscle gorilla. You'll have to fend for yourself eventually. I will not coddle you like an infant. I don't need coddling. I can handle things by myself. I'd rather not have to deal with these 3. Aw, you don't like us? What's the matter, Willie? Don't like our teasing? Don't call me Willie. My name is William. Aw, is little Willie gonna throw a tantrum? William held his tongue as he didn't want to play into Maria's taunts anymore and simply sat himself down on one of the couches and pouted. Seems that we have our teams in. Clyde, Richard, Theresa, and Elizabeth will enter through the first door. Maria, Alphonse, William, and myself shall go through the second. That seems to be right. Guess we'll just wait until it's time for us to go then. Right, wait for the others to die, essentially. Theresa, don't say that. Sorry, my tongue slipped again. I'm sure that they're probably going through something painless. Probably. There was that shit-eating grin laced on her face again. I want to snap at her, but I took a deep breath and took a seat on one of the couches and tried to prepare myself for what was to come. Of course, Theresa wouldn't let me get a moment of peace as she sat right across from me and was studying my face as though she were going to dissect me. Eventually, she clapped her hands and motioned for me to follow her to the kitchenette near the lounge. Since we've got some time to kill, I thought that it would be fun if we got to know each other a little better. Is that okay with you all? I don't mind. That's fine with me, though I'd imagine you're not going to be as forthcoming as we might be. Well, you only have to talk about things you want to. No one's forcing anyone to speak, after all. I don't feel pressured to say anything, Clyde. Why are you singling me out? Oh, no particular reason. I just find you interesting. Most people would crumble in the situation, you know. Having their best friend and source of support die on them would crush the spirit of most people. I suppose by that logic, Richard's also pretty similar, but I don't know. I get the sense that he's a lot more grounded and hardened than he lets on. You've seen some things, haven't you, Richard? Seen all sorts of things, yes, good and bad, but that doesn't make me any more prepared to deal with hardships like these. And what about you, Clyde? Would you say that you faced your share of hardships? I'd rather not talk about it, honestly. That's more telling than you think. Oh, let me guess. You're pretty young. I'd have to... Let me guess. You're pretty young and have to guess. Let me guess, you're pretty young. Maybe a blue-collar worker, college student, or maybe a dropout. Only for a moment, I could see her eyes narrow on mine as I tucked my head down. I saw a flash of a grin before she replaced her expression with a more neutral one. I had given her more information than any sentence I could have uttered. There's no shame in dropping out of college, though. Really, tons of people think that college will net them success and peace in life. Usually it's just a mountain of debt for a job that pays near nothing. So don't worry, I won't judge you. But parents, on the other hand, they're way more harsh about that thing than anyone. I felt as though she were hitting me in the heart with every comment, every question. As though she were opening my brain and hearing every thought that ran through my conscience. Parents like to impart their expectations and hopes on their children without any thought about what they're going through. It's sort of a shame, isn't it? So as when you're pumping money into your kid's future, you think you're entitled to steer the path they want to be on. The bitch, ain't it, Clyde? I was silent. I simply hung my head low and pressed my hands together. I just wanted this to end. I felt as though I were getting interrogated. Harmless questions to cut open old wounds. Theresa, dear, you're bullying the boy far more than you need to. I'm sorry, I tend to get carried away with these kinds of things. I just like to learn about people, figure out what makes them tick. Well, maybe you're better off leaving some people alone. Not everyone wants to have their inner thoughts probed. You're right, I'm sorry if I said anything that might have offended or brought up bad memories. I tell you what, you can ask me anything, I'll answer honestly. It's only fair, isn't it? Why are you here? Well, quite simply I made that call. Lost all my money, and the only way I could pay it back was to make a shady deal. Shady deal with who? Hey, I said Clyde could get to ask questions, not you. Unless you want me to start probing your brain for its inner workings. Anyway, was that satisfactory enough of an answer? I feel like you're being vague on the details, but I suppose it's fine. So you're one of those people that does crazy underground illegal gambling rings or play crazy games for insane amounts of money. You're projecting a rather extravagant lifestyle on me, don't you think? I'm not living some kind of thriller manga. But it is probably something similar, I suppose. The stakes were always high, and the rewards are worth it. In that sense, you must be quite at home here. You'd think so, but so far the games have been lacking. Lacking? People are dying, and you're upset that the games aren't exciting enough for you? You're precisely right. Is that the problem? There's no fun in a game that has no challenge, where the stakes aren't high, and you have to use every trick in the book to even have a slim chance of victory. Those are the kinds of games I love the most. That kind of thrill is so hard to find, even here it seems. Sounds to me like you need to find a different hobby. Maybe I do, but what can I say? After you've lived life a certain way, you just can't pull yourself away from that kind of excitement. You should know best, shouldn't you, Mrs. Ombre, for all you've written about all sorts of mythological and spiritual encounters. I'd say some of the stuff there is more dangerous and thrilling than any game I could get involved in. Don't equate my writing and research to your chase for thrill-seeking games. Well, don't be like that. I'm sure we can find some common ground somewhere. Doubtful. Well, I guess that's just how things are gonna be then. Kind of a shame. I was hoping I'd get a bit more of a reaction out of her. I guess when you've lived through what she has, that's kind of hard. Which means, anger hover between Richard and me. Have some fun with you two in the next game. No, I'd rather not, honestly. Don't push her onto me. I don't want anything to do with her. She's already annoyed the hell out of me. It's your turn to take the brunt of it. You don't have the mental fortitude to deal with someone as shady as her. You're a shady-looking guy yourself. You can probably handle it better than anyone else. Theresa let out a soft giggle as she leaned back in her seat. See, this is the sort of fun banter that keeps things interesting. I hope you'll keep it when we finally play our game. There's a predatory look in her eyes as she was sizing up Richard and me. Everything seemed to be a joke to her, or at least we seemed to be a joke to her. She had an air of calm control, but something was lurking just beneath it, some kind of sadistic desire to see us squirm and struggle. I only saw it for a few seconds, but it was there. She wasn't lying when she said that she enjoyed thrilling games. I don't think she enjoyed them because she found them thrilling for herself. She found them thrilling because... Hey, everyone! I hope that you've had enough enough of a rest because it's time for the third round to start! So it's done then. The others, they must have died. Probably. It took way longer than I thought it would have. Maybe Bill really did torture them to death. Theresa, can you quit with that? Oh, sorry, my mind slipped. I really need to watch out for that. Flip my ass. You've been letting comments like that come out every time you get the chance. Maybe you're just imagining things. I'm not letting a game from bringing up their possibly painful deaths. Anyway, we should be getting ready for our game. Shall we get going? Theresa sprang up onto her feet and walked over towards the first door. Elizabeth walked right behind her, and they both turned to Richard and me, waiting for us to follow. Reluctantly, Richard and I followed right behind them. Don't worry, Clyde. I'll now with you on the other side. Don't act like you're gonna win and kick us to the curb. I've got a second sense for these things, so you better be on the other side when we win, alright, Clyde? Oh, and you too, Richard. Why am I being forgotten about? Maria's smile gave me a hint of hope, and I smiled back, offering a thumbs up towards her. It's a deal. We'll see you on the other side. With that, we all walked through the door, and like the games before, we were in a waiting room with a single television screen. Here we are again, the Roulette of Fate. Is that what it's called? No, that's the name she gave it, so it would sound more grand than it actually is. Well, it is what determines what kind of game we'll be playing. If that isn't a Roulette of Fate, I don't know what is. No, Elizabeth is right. You're making things way more dramatic. A little dramatic flair makes things interesting. I agree! Aren't you all excited? We're getting closer and closer to the end of the game, which means that every moment is all that much more important. The stakes are higher, the game's deadlier. They're deadly enough before now. Make them any more deadlier, they aren't games, they're just executions. You always have something smart to say, don't you, Clyde? Not wrong, though. Well then, I suppose we'll just leave it at its current lethality. Let's see what kind of games awaits you ahead. Screen began to shift and display all of our options once more. I hate this part. Oh, this is actually my favorite part. Anticipation of watching and seeing what kind of game we'll play. Honestly, I'm hoping for something different than a 4-player dilemma. Those have gotten a bit boring. Pit me against someone. I want to have some real competition for once. The good news for you is that the odds are in your favor for getting something new and different. I hope so. I'm sure that you two would be a real fun opponents to play against. Elizabeth wouldn't be. Don't get me wrong, Miss Umbridre would be fun to play against, but she's just so dull and unreactive. I'm certain that you could put her in front of a moving train and she'd still look like a frozen statue in time. Elizabeth rolled her eyes, but otherwise kept her usual look of composure. See, I don't get any fun out of playing someone like that, except to break them and see what they're really thinking. But she's just so old and experienced, I figured nothing I could say would really move her. My apologies, I'm not overreactive. The overreactive opponent you could wish for. None taken, besides, things can always change. That is certainly true. The conversation ended once the screen stopped showing us the game that we were gonna play. There should be a comma there. Because otherwise it's like the screen stopped showing us. Maybe there should be a comma. 2v2. Well, would you look at that? We're gonna be playing a showdown between two teams. Seems that you got your wish. Seems that Lady Luck is with me today. And that depends on the kind of game we're playing and who we're gonna be teamed up with. You're right, but maybe I'll get lucky and I'll play against you two. Let's not keep you all waiting. The teams for the game will be... Teams will consist of Clyde and Richard versus Theresa and Elizabeth. Wow, I got what I wanted again. You slipped Belle a blank check while I wasn't looking. If I did, it would probably bounce. There were no bribes, threats, or any negotiation on the team or the game type we were going to play. That's the thing with randomness, isn't it? You can never truly tell when something is random when it isn't. She's got a point. Tired of her being right, especially now that we're on opposing teams. If our lucky streak keeps up, we'll be as good as dead. I guess you're right. You have some salt. Maybe we can make her spill it by accident. I didn't fill my bag up with useless things while we're fighting that panther, you know. Belle, might you please inform us on the rules of the game? I was just about to get to that. The game we'll be playing is Code Cards. The game will be easier to understand once we actually get set up. For now, all you need to do is split your team. Split our teams. Right, just pick someone to go through the left door or the right door. Okay, I guess I'll take the left door. I don't have any complaints. I want the left door if you don't mind, Elizabeth. It's all yours. You're picking it just to be on my side. You're being so self-centered right now. I'm left-handed, so naturally I want to take the left door. That's your reasoning? It's as valid as any other reasoning, but let's not dawdle. I'd rather not face Belle's wrath right now. As we were told, and each of us entered through the doors. Oh boy. So we entered into the next room. We noticed that it was split in half by a large glass pane. The only thing of note was a large table at the center of the room, where there were a chair for each of us to sit down. Why is the room split in half like this? Maybe there's some kind of trick or purpose to it. Maybe we're meant to be cut off from our partners. Maybe we're about to duke it to the death, and we have to watch as our partners are either killed or become killers. That's not even remotely funny. True, but it's also a possibility. Okay, everyone. Now that we're all here, let me explain the setup and rules of code cards. First, you'll notice that this wall is a soundproof piece of glass, and no matter how hard you yell or scream, the other side will not be able to hear you. Really? I spoke and looked over at Richard, who seemed to be watching me intently and opened his mouth as if he were speaking. To the Belle's word, I couldn't hear a single thing that he was saying, assuming that he was talking at all. Next, please take note of the table. You'll see that there are 16 cards face up underneath the table surface in the center for everyone to see. The table glowed and I quickly saw plain white cards that were neatly organized in a square formation. Now that you see the cards, the objective of the game is to collect 3 of these cards. How do you do that? Well, the code readers will each get a screen showing which cards will be eligible for them to collect. Theresa, Clyde, you 2 are the code readers. Please note the tablet on your table. It shows a representation of the grid and the cards. Notice that 3 cards are colored blue, 3 are colored red, 1 is colored black, and the rest are colored gray. I am Richard, you're on team blue. You want to collect 3 cards that are highlighted as blue. Theresa and Elizabeth, you're on team red. You want to collect 3 cards that are highlighted in red. Gray cards are neutral and don't offer any points. Black cards an instant game over if it's chosen, so watch out for that. Your team will lose it, and you will die if you pick that card. Of course, only the code readers know which cards are blue and red cards, and their job is to tell their partner which card to pick. Elizabeth, Richard, you 2 are the card pickers. You're able to select any card on the table if it hasn't already been claimed by your opponent. How are we supposed to describe the cards if we can't speak to our teammates? I don't know sign language, I can't read lips. I was about to get to that. Clyde, if you just wait a moment. Each round, the cards are randomized in their values. Being a red card one round might become a blue card next round, and so on. So forth. Once people start, the code reader will give a one-word hint to their partner and a number. The hint can be any word as long as it doesn't contain the word listed on the card. The number indicates how many guesses that the card picker can make. When the code reader is ready, you can press the button on the table to send their hint and guess number. Naturally, if the card picker chooses a gray card, their turn ends. If they choose a card for the enemy team, then they get a point. And of course, if they pick a black card, your team loses and you both die. Card picker must pick a minimum of 1 card, but even if they have multiple guesses, they can choose to stop at any time after the first. These rules felt awfully familiar to a game that I knew too well. Despite that, I saw some looks of confusion on Richard and Elizabeth's face as they were looking over the cards. They were mouthing something to one another, but I couldn't hear it. After a team's card pickers ended their turn, the other team gets their chance. The cycle will continue until either team has 3 cards of their team color, or the opponent picks the black card and loses. The winning team will, of course, move on to the final game, while the losing team will be executed. Do you all understand the rules? It's essentially just code names, I understand. I think I've got the basic gist of it. I assume the others understood because they nodded and gave what I assumed were correct answers. Good! Then we'll start with a coin flip to determine who goes first. If it's heads, the team red, that's Theresa and Elizabeth will go first. Tails, Clyde and Richard will go first. Coin dropped down from the ceiling, flipping and spinning on the table until it landed on heads. Team Red shall start the game. Good luck, good fortune to all participants, and may the best team win. Lady Luck must have me in her sights today. I made everything I want. I don't know what it is with this game. It makes me congested. I think it's all the different voices, honestly. Well, good thing this game's not about luck. Clyde, there's always luck involved in games. Sometimes you just can't see how it ties in. Well, let's get playing. I've been waiting for this. Just looked at her screen, which lit up, showing which cards would be eligible for her to win. I looked at my own. I was able to see which cards were red, blue, gray, and the life-ending black card. Cards read: loving, confident, hopeful, successful, grief, isolated, inferior, embarrassed, betrayed, furious, jealous, annoyed, frightened, worried, worthless, and overwhelmed. The 3 red cards were hopeful, grief, and betrayed. The blue cards were worthless, jealous, and furious. The black card was annoyed. It's a fun game, don't you think? Trying to think about how to describe things like emotions. She was right. All the words were either emotional states or words used to describe how someone felt. It's interesting, especially since we're all different and distinct people. Yeah, but things like hope and grief and jealousy are all universally understood, right? Do you think so? Our experiences in everyday life are so different. What do you consider betrayal, for example? Well, like if I loan someone some money thinking I get it back, but then he ran off with the cash. See, where I come from, that's not betrayal. That's the expected result of having blind faith. To me, if I did that, I wouldn't feel betrayal. I'd feel self-loathing. How could I fall for something so stupid? If you say that, you know what it feels like to be betrayed. True, but betrayal to me might be on a different magnitude. True empathy is hard to understand. Does betrayal for you mean the same for me? Would the betrayal of a king be the same as the betrayal of a beggar? This game, perhaps it's meant for us to connect with one another, or test our bonds for one another. In that sense, it would have been better to have our typical pairs. Are you telling me all this? Aren't you trying to win? Of course, but so far there's no competition. The other side can't hear me, so I'll be my conversation partner for now. If you listen carefully, you might even learn a few things. Not many people get to learn a lesson from me, after all. Well, use this lesson if I'm gonna die at the end and you win. That's a great question. Maybe the afterlife is some kind of fun casino you could enjoy? Anyway, I think I'll finally start. Theresa pressed the button and looked at Elizabeth, studying her eyes for a few seconds before speaking. Backstab, for one. That was about as obvious a clue as any could be. When you looked at all the words, only one thing came to mind when you thought of backstab. That had to be betray. More importantly, though, it was here that I realized the tough situation I was in. As I was going second, even if I was able to keep up with Theresa's pace, I'd be down 1 point unless she or Elizabeth slipped up. Position, I'd have to take a gamble and go for 2 cards just to catch up. Obviously, Theresa didn't let the moment pass as she noticed the slight panic starting to well up in me. Rather than her usual snarky attitude, she seemed to be genuinely curious herself. That's odd. Usually in these kinds of games, the player that goes first has a disadvantage to equalize the field. She goes second gets some kind of advantage or aid. Something like us having to score an extra card to win rather than the usual 3. There doesn't any rule like that in place. Am I supposed to make each of these games fair? Fair is a subjective term, but even so, it does feel odd that she did not put some kind of rule to keep a simple factor like luck from winning you the game. Maybe there's a reason? And time will tell. For now, let's see the results. We both looked at Elizabeth, who seemed to be scanning over the cards intently. I figured that she would have picked the card quickly, but her eyes continued to sift and search through all of them. Her eyebrow twitched slightly in frustration as she put a hand on her chin and glared at the cards once more. This should have been obvious. Backstab was a pretty simple word to describe betrayal. But it could have been used for something like furious or grief. Sure, it could have been used for something like furious or grief, but there are better words to describe it. Is she simply overthinking things? Did she not hear correctly? Looked over at Theresa, who seemed to be as frustrated as I was confused by Elizabeth's hesitation. Eventually, her hand slowly reached out to the frightened card. Her hand shook, and I noticed that her usual composed demeanor had shifted to one of unease. Once it picked it up, she inspected it, let a sigh, and then put the card back down where it had been placed. What? What was that? Theresa refused to answer. Her eyes were glaring at the cards and back at Elizabeth, who could do nothing but offer an apologetic look back. Didn't make sense. Why did you pick the frightened card? Was she afraid of getting backstabbed herself? Seems so obvious. Was there some kind of trick? Manipulation? Something I hadn't understood? Did I miss some important features of the rules? Was Elizabeth purposely throwing the game? So many confusing thoughts entered into my mind. I had almost forgotten it was my turn. Look back at my screen. Ugh. And to remind myself of what words I was aiming for. Worthless, jealous, and furious. Right now, I can take the lead and put myself in a good spot if I get Richard to pick the right card. So all I need is for him to pick one. I don't need to go risking it all. First I had to pick what I wanted Richard to pick. Out of the three, I figured the best would be... My mind is thinking Furious. Also, well, worthless. I don't think I've ever seen Richard truly angry. Annoyed, yeah, but he's got to understand rage, right? Anger is just a part of human nature, and he seems to understand that well enough, right? Synonyms to furious can also work. Lastly, I need to make sure that the word I pick isn't similar to any of the red cards or the black cards. Red cards weren't ideal, but it was better than immediately dying or giving a point to their team. So I need to avoid words that were similar to hopeful, grief, betrayed, and annoyed. Knowing that, what I should pick is... history. I just need to look at this. Hopeful, grief, betrayed, and annoyed. Thinking of France are berserk. This is purely a word game. Hopeful, grief, betrayed, annoyed. Frantic leads me to think of like a panic set sort of thing. Livid doesn't really lead me to furious. Something berserk. Berserk. That's about as close as you can get to furious, isn't it? Certainly a pretty vivid image when you think about anger, so it should probably do the trick. Where's the bell and look at Richard? Berserk, for one. Richard absentmindedly looked at the cards. At times his eyes narrowed, and other times they would roll over towards another one, as if you're unsure as to what he ought to pick. Nash's hand picked up the Overwhelmed card. Overwhelmed? Really? That's what he picked? A few seconds of inspecting the card, he placed it back down, then crossed his arms over his chest. And he looked frustrated and turned to me, mouthing what I could only assume was an apology. Well, that was an uninteresting first round. Let's scramble up the cards again so we get something new and fun. Screens flickered, and while the cards on the table stayed the same, the card types had been changed. 3 red cards were overwhelmed, jealous, and loving. Blue cards were grief, confident, and annoyed. Black was success. Since the red team won first last round, the blue team shall go first this round. Now the table is turned. If I can manage a victory with even 1 point, I'd be able to push an advantage against the other team. And so, I felt as though something wasn't clicking. Neither Theresa nor I were able to send the right information over towards our teammates. A fact that seemed to frustrate Theresa, as she did nothing but glare at the other side of the table, watching both Elizabeth and Richard. She's trying to figure out the secret to this game, the strange reason for why Elizabeth and Richard's card choices felt so off-base compared to their hints. I tried to reason it out in my head, but nothing was coming to my mind. The words were plain as day, and from what I could tell, they were still able to hear us. So, why did they seem so confused and hesitant for some of their choices? Richard and Elizabeth seemed to be talking, occasionally looking down at the cards and back to one another. I see. You see what? You really want to know. I bet you're just dying to understand everything. Well, if it'll get me closer to winning, then yes. You can read lips. I might understand every little word, Seb. I heard a few interesting pieces here and there. And they seem to be just as confused as we are. That much is obvious. They're picking cards that don't make sense. Ah, is that what you think? You're a little close-minded then. Excuse me? Remember what I said earlier, how our perception and understanding of words varies from person to person? What might seem obvious to us might be completely foreign to them. And now we explain why our hints don't seem to make sense to them. But they're just words. How are they not understanding things like that? Well, that's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it, Clyde? Why aren't they understanding words? But I've talked too much. If I give too many hints at this stage, the game isn't going to be any fun. You get such an insurmountable advantage for free, and that's no fun. You figure out the rest for yourself. I guess I shouldn't have expected the free pass. No, you shouldn't, but take whatever crumbs of advice you can get. You never know when it'll save you. He's right, though. I can't simply flounder through this. Figure out the trick. The solution will give me the advantage I need to win the game. If Theresa could notice it, then surely I can, too. Turn my attention back to Richard and Elizabeth. It seemed that until I pressed the button, they would keep on talking. It must be here. If Theresa could notice something, then I surely can too. I might not be able to read lips, but there should be something. Stared at them for a few seconds and watched every little detail. How they fidgeted in their seat, how their hands moved, the way that their brows raised and lowered. Something stood out to me more than that, something I couldn't help but find odd. Richard occasionally would turn his eyes towards the cards, and they would linger around a bit before they would inevitably always return back to one card in particular. The grief card. Whenever he did, his eyes would droop, his frown would curl down further. A sense of melancholy would seem to overtake his face. It's like clockwork. Each time his eyes moved there, it would happen. But wasn't that odd? Grief is just a word. Why did it have such a strong impact on him? I thought back to the previous round. Elizabeth had an equally strange reaction when she picked up her card. She looked afraid. Afraid even though her hint was related to betrayal. Richard did something similar during my round as well. He picked a card that wasn't related to my hint, and when he picked a card, he showed an emotional response similar to the card's text. In other words, when Elizabeth picked the frightened card, it was because she was frightened. The cards to Theresa and I, they are showing simple words. Elizabeth and Richard, the cards aren't showing the words, they're showing something that makes them feel like the words themselves. At that logic, perhaps our hints aren't effective because rather than equating them to the word, they're equating our hints to the scenes shown on the cards. Maybe Elizabeth's fear had to do with backstabbing or knives or something along those lines would explain why she picked the frightened card rather than the betrayal one. This game, I understand it now. Cards we see and what they see are totally different. They don't see the words what we see. What they see is... They see pictures of those emotions. Keep eyeing the cards closely and the reactions are stronger than what you'd expect from a simple word. Perhaps it's not a word that they're seeing, but a picture. Some kind of image that would make their emotions flare up. From our point of view, the cards just look like words, but that's Belle's. But Belle's done some strange things before. Maybe she's messing with her perception of the cards. Maybe it's like those holographic cards that change depending on the angle you look at them. Though they inspect the cards each time that they pick them up. They'd probably see the word if they did that. Maybe Belle's magic is really what's messing things up here. Either way, the point stands. Not about us trying to make them figure out what the card we see. Us trying to figure out what they're seeing that makes them feel like a certain emotion. Oh, don't look in your eye. Have you solved it? I think so. Perspective is a funny thing, isn't it? Then we must be speaking nonsense. To us, they must be deaf to our words. Now we understand, though. It's a race of empathy. Who can understand the other first? And how can we convey the right feelings? This is a fun game. Theresa leaned back in her seat, looking at me curiously and with curiosity and intrigue. She was enjoying this, but perhaps she was more interested in seeing my approach. I could hear her eyes drilling into my soul, trying to read my own feelings, my own thoughts. You spent a good amount of time with Richard, haven't you? I'm actually a little envious of your relationship with him. If it's as deep as I'm guessing, then I don't stand much of a chance here. Don't let her get to me. She was just trying to rattle me. Richard and I hadn't been together that long. There were a few close moments due to our shared losses and going through a game together. But aside from that, we didn't have as deep a relationship as Theresa was insisting. Maybe she knew that and was simply taunting me? She knew that I'd be working with limited information. That's what I'd have to do. Turned back to Richard, looked down at the cards, and thinking about what I ought to do. First, I had to decide what card I wanted Richard to pick. It was actually rather easy. Richard had already shown a reaction to the grief card. Moreover, it was pretty easy to think as to why he would feel grief, or what event would make him feel grief. When I considered everything, I knew what word I ought to use. Race. First round. That's where Richard lost his father. Now I've shown it, but I imagine that he must have felt some sadness and grief at the loss of his father. Even he was certain that he'd see him again. Maybe he has regrets, wishes that he could put himself in his father's shoes and push him to survive instead of the other way around. Knowing that, maybe the real reason he looks so sad while looking at the grief cards is because it shows that emotion. Pressed the button to get Richard's attention and spoke. Race for 1. His eyes drooped, his vision turned towards the grief card. Means my read was right, as without hesitation he reached for the card and picked it up. It blinked blue a few times and Richard pulled the card over toward his side of the table. Yes, finally! Theresa grinned and nodded her head. Seems you get the gist of the game, but I'm afraid it's a little too late. Tough talk from someone that's in a losing position. She laughed and leaned against the table. I see. Losing is such an interesting word to use here. Let's see if I can't reel it back. How is she so confident? Was there some hidden trick I didn't understand? Some flaw in my reasoning? You're wondering if I have some knowledge or some hidden trick up my sleeve, aren't you? Reality is I've just got some serious luck on my side. The last game I played with Elizabeth, I learned a bit about her. Some trivial things, mostly. But the one thing that was the most interesting was her relationship with William Morris. They're a duo, so they came together, right? Well, yes, but it goes a bit deeper than that. William's a bit of an idiot, don't you think? I haven't talked with him much, so I can't really say. He's a bit annoying, but can't say much on his intellect. You're lucky. He says all sorts of dumb things and doesn't seem to understand the basics of reality. And that's mainly because he's obsessed with the occult. Magic, demons, rituals, the realm of dreams, fantastical things like that. And it factors into his relationship with Elizabeth how? Elizabeth is his mentor, a wise old soul teaching the ways of the mystical world. Or, so she's told me anyway. That's why he follows her around like a lost sheep. She has arcane knowledge that many would kill to have. Many have. Don't really know what an apprenticeship would entail, but I guess I can imagine. The substance of their mentor and apprentice relationship doesn't really matter. What matters is how they view one another. That's strange. They seem to be somewhat abrasive at times, but they also have an innate trust. Sort of like how parents and children love each other even though they get on one another's nerves. Do you think that they're related to one another? Oh, no, they're not really by blood, that much I know for sure. But they've got a bond of some kind. And you're gonna use that bond now to get an advantage? You get on quick, watch and learn. Teresa pressed the button and looked at Elizabeth. William for 2. For 2?! She that confident she could get 2 cards? Well, Elizabeth picked one of the blue cards, or where's the black card? If the word fit for 1 card, there was a chance she'd pick a gray one first, and that would be the end of her turn. No matter how you look at it, unless she was extremely confident in herself, there was no reason for her to have made that decision. Yet, Theresa had an air of superiority and calm, as if she had a foolproof way of assuring that she was correct. Sure enough, Elizabeth reached for the loving card. It flashed red, and she moved it to her side of the table. Then, she reached for the overwhelming card. How? How was this possible? Just one word, the tables had been turned completely, and now was at a severe disadvantage. Amazing! I would have had such an opportunity if I hadn't been with Elizabeth and William before. And what are the odds that Elizabeth would have been my partner in this game? What if she hadn't volunteered? I truly am a lucky sort of gal, aren't I? Shut up, shut up! Don't look too good, Clive. Well, I suppose that's natural. You're gonna need a miracle of sorts to be able to win this game. Come on, show me what you do. There it was, the overbearing sense of superiority. Assuredness that she could win. It was suffocating to feel as though fate was so against me that hope wasn't just improbable, it was near impossible. And Theresa knew that. Well, now's the fun round! Seems you're all getting the hang of this. I'll shuffle out the remaining cards. Screens flickered, and while the cards on the table stayed the same, the card types had changed. The red one was furious. The 2 blue cards were worried and annoyed. The black card was confident. But that was pointless. The real issue wasn't the cards. It was a turn order. Since blue team went first last time, it'll be red's turn to go first. That's right. Since Theresa only had to get 1 more card, she'd be able to simply get 1 card and she'd be able to win the game. You understand it, right? Turn to her and watch as she tapped her fingers together. You're doomed. You've got no chance of survival. 1 card. All Elizabeth needs to do is pick 1 card and it's game over. You don't know that you'll get it right. She might misinterpret or something. You don't know her enough to be able to be certain that she'll pick the furious card even if you give her a good hint. You don't know for certain. Teresa's lip twitched upwards again. She held her hand against her lip as she tried to hold in her laughter. But it leaked out. Her condescending snickers broke through that false veil of composure. Those are the words of a desperate soul trying to find some kind of out. If what you're saying is true, then why do you look so worried? I'm not worried. Your face tells the truth even when your mouth doesn't. See it plastered all over you. The despair, the desperation, the hopelessness. You're wishing that there will be some kind of miracle, some kind of bizarre twist that will save you here. And you believe that because the alternative is certain death. My heart began to beat ferociously. I feel sweat rolling down my face and dread flow through my blood like a toxin. She was right. I was hoping for a miracle. Then just get on with it. Huh? If you're so sure you can win, why are you tormenting a dead man? Let's get it over with. Get Elizabeth to pick the right card and then you'll move on to the next round. Isn't that why you're here? That's not fun. I was hoping you'd beg or try to make some kind of deal. You wouldn't accept. And you don't know that. I can see in your eyes. You don't care about making a deal. You just want to see the desperation in my eyes. You want to see that last moment when my glimmer of hope is grounded in the dust between your fingers. I'm not gonna let you have it. So just go on and do what you have to do. You weren't any fun at all. After everything, you're just gonna roll over and die without a fighting chance? Pathetic. The girl you came with picked a real bum to partner with. You shut your mouth. Oh, did that strike a nerve? Are you angry that I brought up the dead girl that you killed yourself? All that hope and all those regrets weighing on your shoulders, you're just gonna let them go to waste, right? Real shame. She died for nothing because a helpless loser like you can't muster any strength. My blood began to boil. My fingers began to dig into my skin as I balled them into a tight fist. You heartless bitch. How could you say something like that? Because it's the truth. In this world, there are only two winners. And people like you that are trash can be toyed with until that what little worth you have is burned to ash. Devin, Kishi, Zeph, Philip, Laura, Jade, and Grant. All of them were used up and thrown away, just like you're about to be. They aren't trash. You're the only subhuman thing here. Think of what people can just be used up and thrown away. She's purposely riling him up so she could just say Clyde. Isn't she? You can call me whatever you want, but I'm still alive. Everyone else is dead, but you know what? I'm not the killer like you are. What? Every game I've been in has had everyone survive. But just because you chose the last door in the first round. In the second round, I went into the first door and no one died in there. In fact, I went out of my way to ensure that people didn't die. But you, well, if I recall correctly, you got 3 people killed, didn't you? I didn't kill anyone. Oh, then how did they die? Some horrible accident that you didn't get involved in? Some horrible trick the Belle played that you outwitted but left the others to die? I can see in your eyes, Clyde. Your regrets and pain welling up deep in your soul. You regret killing them. Wait, no, that's not quite right. You regret killing Devin, don't you? My world begins to spin, my memory flashing back to the moment where it all happened. That cursed room. That cursed game. See, I may be a lot of things, but I never go out of my way to kill my best friend. I'm not that heartless. It wasn't a choice between my own life and my own best friend. He's a heartless bastard. What did you say? Anger began to surface again as I stood up from my seat and towered over her. You put on a face of regret and sadness, but you're happy to be alive. I'm sure you do feel bad about it somewhere deep down. You know that you'd do it again and again and again if you were given a chance, right? Take it back. In the end, you're just a selfish man who's looking out for himself. Devin was doomed to die from the start. Take it back. That's how you've always been, hasn't it? You're just looking out for yourself and you don't care about anyone else. Devin put all her faith in you, and you ground into dust before her very eyes. I said, take it back. But my arm raised up, my emotions overtaking my thoughts. I just wanted her to shut up. I wanted her to stop talking. In that moment, only one thought kept repeating through my head. I'm gonna hesitate. Froze, my body pausing for just a moment like someone was pulling me by the shoulder. Anger was slowly pulling back at me, making me glare back at Theresa, who had that shit-eating grin plastered across her face. My arm reeled back. This would shut her up for good. As I pulled my arm back, I saw a movement in the corner of my eye. When I turned, I saw Richard pounding against the glass, his mouth jabbering something I couldn't hear. I grit my teeth. I could tell he was trying to calm me down, but I didn't care. I needed him to shut up. I needed them all to shut up. Especially Theresa. I could barely think with everything that she was saying. So hard to focus. I was so angry. Huh? Wait, angry? The word echoed in my head over and over again. She's trying to make me angry. She's trying to make me hit her. Why would she do that? She has nothing to gain from me hitting her or getting angry. Unless she wants me to get angry because... It took you this long to realize it? Back at the glass and saw both Richard and Elizabeth watching me intently. Perfect. And back to Theresa, who seemed slightly annoyed I hadn't just socked her in the face. I was about to turn the tables on her. Walked up to her and embraced both my arms. pulled her into a hug. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Is this how you react when someone insults you? Laughed and then pulled away from her. For once I was able to see a look of frustration and annoyance on her face. You almost got me. You don't really know a way to get Elizabeth to pick Furious card, do you? So you try to get me to make a scene that would paint a picture of that emotion. Theresa stuck out her tongue and began to tap her finger on the table. You knew that much from the start, then you should have just sat down and not gotten my hopes up. Well, it almost worked. Just a little hesitation on my part. Well, you shouldn't hit a lady. I hope someone taught you that. I bet you were wishing that I hadn't gotten that advice now. Don't push your luck. Wasn't any luck about it. I felt that something holding me back. I don't know what it was, but it distracted me just enough to let my brain figure out what her plot was. Now, all I had to do was employ the same trick. Looked at Richard from the other side of the glass and motioned with my eyes towards Theresa. She'd been looking down at the table trying to formulate a plan. Richard simply nodded his head and looked towards Theresa, who eventually raised her head, prepared to press the button. So what's your plan to be now? Are you gonna just go out on a whim and hope that Elizabeth picks the right card? Oh, you suddenly fallen silent. No more snarky comments you'd like to make? Come on, you said I could learn a thing or two from you. How am I gonna learn anything if you're not gonna tell me? She refused to look at me, instead keeping her eyes down towards the table. I couldn't see it. I was hoping that she'd have some kind of tell, but she was focused. Still had to at least give it a shot. Huh, guess I won't have anything to gain from a loser like you. I don't lose. It was quiet, but just audible enough for me to hear. Oh, did you say that you don't lose? She clammed up, but that was enough. At least, I hoped it would be enough. Theresa slammed her hand onto the button and looked at Elizabeth. Emotion, for one. Pointed at me. Elizabeth looked over towards me for a moment. I tried to keep my poker face going, but I wasn't really sure what kind of emotion I wanted to show. She didn't want to look angry, however, that looked. Elizabeth calmly looked over the cards and then picked up the embarrassed card. Did I really look embarrassed? Maybe she thought what we did was embarrassing. I was betting that she had paid attention to your anger before you decided to randomly hug me. Seeing that, it probably threw her off. Maybe I shouldn't have waited too long. Damn it. She shook her head in frustration. Try not to make your mistake. Immediately slammed my hand on the button and looked at Richard. Empathy for two. For two? For two. I'm sure Richard can get it right. That look in your eye. She glared at me as she turned her eyes towards me. You're bluffing. There's no way in hell that you'd be able to get two cards. I bet that you're just desperate, hoping that you can somehow net a win since you were so far behind. Theresa, why would I need to do something out of desperation? After this round, I get to go first. If there was a time to be desperate, it would be the next round, not this one. See, I just know how to win right here and now. Cut the bullcrap. There's no way! There's no way you'd be able to do that. You don't know Richard enough to pick a single word that would display two feelings. Looks like that. Don't work on a pro like me. Just hearing this garbage coming out of your mouth. It's like watching an amateur claiming they're a pro at poker after winning one hand. Empathy. How does that even relate to worried and annoyance? Really? You don't know? It's kind of a disappointment, especially since you were the one to show me how in the first place. I turned in the mirror when I saw Richard glaring at the two of us. What the hell is he looking at? Why hasn't he picked his card yet? Isn't it obvious? He's waiting for an answer. A cue, so to speak. He's just trying to pull the same trick on me. After all, shouldn't you know better? What? Suddenly all made sense in Theresa's mind. She slowly turned to Richard, who looked over the cards and picked up the annoyed card. Richard inspected the card a few times and noticed it flashed blue a few times. He confidently tucked it on his side of the table and then paused. I grinned and looked at Theresa, who slinked back in her seat. How did he pick that card just from the word empathy? You know what the word means, right? Of course I know what it means. But you weren't annoyed, you weren't showing any signs of annoyance. And there are a lot of words that are similar to annoyance. So why did he pick that card specifically? Well, isn't it obvious? He's not paying attention to me. Paying attention to you. What? He's been looking at me? Richard told me something interesting once. He claims that he's got a very good sense of empathy. That he can look in someone's eyes and get a good read on their emotions. I mean, you should know better. You tried using the same idea on me. But you must have let your guard down after it failed for you. Clever. You really are a fast learner. What good is that going to do you now? So Richard saw that I was annoyed with your questions. So what? As long as I don't look worried, it doesn't matter if he stares at me for a minute or a millennia. She had a poker face on again. Cool, calm, collected. It was just a mask. I knew deep down that she must have been feeling some kind of terror. You may have caught me slipping once, but that doesn't mean that you're going to catch me making the same mistake twice. I don't need to. You've already shown me and Richard everything that we need. I'm not going to fall for that bluff. I've been in worse situations than this with greater stakes. Greater stakes in your own life. How about the life of others? I've played games out with misery and suffering like you'd never imagine. My soul, my heart, my being has been tempered to the point where I have little to no weakness when I'm ready. She's right. Now that she was aware that Richard was watching her, she had kept her face near emotionless. If Richard had picked up on any emotion, there was no way he'd be able to read on it now. Wow, that's kind of impressive, actually. How do you learn to hide your tells like that? After I lost 3 of my fingers in the air and had my hand branded, go through that kind of pain and you learn how important it is to hide your emotions. Seriously, you went through all that? And much more! You look have your fingers to me. But the point for me is it was out of necessity and survival. It sounds to me like you just suck. Flash of irritation washed over her face before she tightened her gaze once more. Either way, what happened is very similar to what's happening now. It's kind of scary. My world is a scary one. I wouldn't recommend it for the faint of heart. You don't have to tell me twice. So what's Richard gonna do? Huh? He still has one more card to pick. Out of 12 that are left, either one is red and one is black. That's a 1 in 6 chance that the next card he picks will kill both of you. That's right, but why would I worry about that? I worry about it because the odds that he randomly picks a blue card is 1 in 12. True, but I'm not really concerned. Looked to Richard and shifted his eyes back towards mine. Then I glanced ever so slightly and turned back towards Theresa. I'm not falling for a bluff, you know. I have the perfect plan in mind I wouldn't as much as blink. I back in my seat and put my feet on the table with a confident grin plastered for all to see. You should be worried. In fact, I think that you are. Even if you can't show it, if you refuse to show it, right now I have an advantage and you surely understand. Surely the odds aren't all that great that Richard randomly chooses the next card correctly. I also get the next turn to pick before you do, another chance for me to find some way to win. You should have learned from this round that there's never a guarantee. Misinterpretations, bad word choice, spoiled plans, maybe they'll come crumbling down. You're right. They might be coming down, but that's not what matters right now in this moment. Right here in this moment, all that matters is what you think that I've got a solution figured out. I just have to show confidence and assurance that I've got a way to win either now or in the next round. Told you, I wouldn't fall for your foolish attempts to sway my mood. You're right, Theresa. There's no way I'd be able to get you to show worry on your face. No. I don't think I could get any emotion show on your face. Then why do you still seem confident? Or is it all just an act? Half and half part of this confidence is just an act. But you're forgetting an important detail here. While you may have your emotions checked, you've completely forgotten about your partner, Elizabeth. Teresa's mask cracked ever so slightly, your eyes shifted towards Elizabeth. Unlike Theresa, who seemingly had a perfected mask of composure, Elizabeth was the complete opposite. Every other second, she would frown, her forehead was sweating, and her eyes constantly glazed over the number of cards we had collected. You forgot that you weren't playing alone. Your teammate is just as fallible to making expressions as you are. And you can't control her like you can control yourself. Urgh. Now you're showing your weakness too, which should be more than enough for Richard to confirm what the right card should be. Looked over Richard's gaze split between Elizabeth and Teresa's. A little soft sign hovered over the cards. And finally he picked the worried card. Yes! Why are you laughing? It's just a coping mechanism. Like when something unbelievable happens, you can't help but laugh. It's better than covering your face in tears. Plus, people tend to think you're crazy if you start laughing when you've lost everything. It gives you a sense of madness that makes people fear you. I've been outwitted, outplayed, and outmaneuvered. You're pretty damn smart, you know? A guy like you, with your quick thinking, you make a killing doing what I do. Maybe I'm just getting soft. I must be getting rusty. That bastard better have been telling the truth, or else. Her facade started to wear down as tears started to well up on her face. Even though she was laughing, it was obvious that it wasn't generous. Or genuine. Genuous? What the heck is genuous? She was trying to suppress her fear, her panic behind laughter. Hey, you don't need to. Say me the words. I'm a dead woman. There's no point in trying to comfort me. Just make it quick, alright? I hate that feeling of desperation and helplessness. I don't want to feel it ever again. Sorry. Before I could finish my sentence, Teresa's eyes widen with panic and her laughter stopped as she slumped over the table. Theresa? With the glass, Elizabeth had fallen over the table too. Richard was the only one left alive alongside myself. He has 3 cards neatly stacked up on the table and looked over at Elizabeth's corpse. Congratulations, Blue Team! You managed to get 3 cards before your opponent! You're now able to move on to the 4th and final game! Excellent work! Elle's voice rang hollow in my head as I looked over the 2 corpses in the room. I didn't turn towards the door that had just opened, nor did I care that the glass was slowly fading away. An oppressive silence hung in the room, even after the game had ended, and it was only after Richard walked towards me I was snapped back into reality. What killed them? Looked over their bodies and didn't find any wounds. They had no pulse. This wasn't a trick. How did they just die right here like this? Maybe Belle killed them. Did something from the inside of their bodies, like forcing a heart attack. She can do that? She's the ruler of this realm. Imagine there are unlimited things that she could do. Why is all this necessary? Is it all so that Belle can get joy looking over our pain? Is there some kind of lesson that we need to learn? What's the point in all this suffering? I think that varies by person. That's flimsy. Who would want any of this? I don't care if we all wake up from this. I don't care if death is just temporary here. I've killed 5 people. That's not something that any normal person can just walk away from. Are they not gonna remember? Are they just gonna act like I didn't take away their life? You said that would be like a dream, where we all just wake up from this horrible nightmare and move on with our lives. How do you live through something like that? How can I live with that? You can't bear the blame on yourself here. Most people knew what they were getting themselves into. I did it. I wouldn't have come here if I knew I'd be playing these screwed up games where I had to choose between my own life and others. I even think about how my actions would lead to Theresa or Elizabeth's deaths right up until the end. All I cared about was winning the game, finding some out, her life, their lives. None of it mattered to me. These stupid games are warping me. I don't want to go through this again. Even if I get out of this, I don't want to become some murderous monster. I don't remember any of this. You won't be changed. You're not going to turn some emotionless monster. How do you know that? I still have to go through one more game, and you're going to be one of my opponents. All these games, they're just about winning, no matter the cost. Winning, winning, winning! Proving that you're better than your opponent, smarter, quicker, stronger. It's all some dumb competition. I don't want whatever lessons these games have to teach. I don't want to turn into some victory-seeking monster again. I didn't hear the moment. I was just racing about how to survive, how to win. It was only after I won that I really think about how Theresa and Elizabeth would just... Look at yourself. You're lamenting over the death of someone who wouldn't have hesitated to kill you. Every step of the way, you've been thinking about how your actions affect others. You don't enter the game thinking that you must win, and you leave them questioning if there's anything you could have done that would change things. If you didn't care, you wouldn't have been crying after the first round. If you didn't care, you would have only looked for yourself in the second round. Even now, you're worried about becoming something you hate. That's proof that you're clinging tightly to your humanity. So, don't give up. At the end of all this, you'll be different, but you won't be broken. I can see in your eyes, Clyde. You can't let your heart waver now, of all times, especially not when they're all watching. You can see it in my eyes? Yes, I can see you fighting to not let whatever old habits you had consume you. You really? Do you really see that in my eyes? Is this just kind of bullshit he was making up so I'd take the next step? I wanted to disbelieve him. I wanted to think he was lying. But my heart told me to trust him. When they pulled me along telling me he wasn't lying. Maybe the others really were watching and were leading me along. I didn't have anything else to go on anyway. Okay, I'll keep trying. Good. Now let's go. We deserve a little bit of respite after this. Whatever use it will be. Slowly, two of us walked out of the room and walked towards the hallway leading towards the next Clover Lounge. The same, yet so different. Bigger, grander, and emptier. Or maybe it just felt that way because we knew there'd be less people. Was this Belle's way of taunting us? We were close to the end of the game. Our reward was just one door away. But who would share it with? Who would we share it with? Our joys and relief? Didn't know. I just collapsed onto the couch and looked up at the ceiling. Richard fell asleep. We let out both let out a heavy sigh and closed our eyes for a moment of respite. I don't know if you're in the mood, but may I ask you a question? Sure, but I can't guarantee you'll get an answer. That's fair. Anyway, do you enjoy being a dishwasher? Hell no! It's a boring job where all I do is stand by the sinks, break gunk off plates, and wash dishes and silverware. I'm too slow and things get backed up. All that pressure's on me, even though I'm not really doing anything important or fulfilling. I don't cook meals, I don't serve people, I just stand in the back and wash dishes. Nothing wrong with washing dishes. You're keeping things clean. No one wanted to eat out at a fancy restaurant if they thought their silverware plates were dirty. I know you're trying to make me feel better. I'm sure that some people would feel pride and accomplishment doing that kind of stuff. It's not me. I just feel like I waste away back there. Best thing that comes from the job is getting to talk and joke around with the people in the back. If we get a drink of beer after we finish closing the place up. Let's see. Is there a reason why you're still working there then? I guess I can't bring myself to quit. It's not like they've got some secret over me or forcing me to work there. Just don't know about my future, I guess. It's demonstrated time and time again that you've got creative means of thinking and are quite clever. It's kind of hard to believe that you could have had a job whether it's your liking that might pay more. You know you're not the first person to say that to me. People tell me all the time I'm smart, that I got good grades, or I can do whatever I want if I put my mind to it. But that just frustrates me, you know? If I'm so smart, then why can't I get anywhere? Why am I stuck? If I have the tools to pull myself out of this hole I'm in and can get somewhere better, why haven't I done it yet? How can I be so smart if I can't figure out something as simple as that? I don't know. Yeah, me neither. Being smart doesn't mean you have all the answers. I wish it did, but I never really had a lot of aspirations, I guess. No real desire or idea as to what I want to do with my life. It's nothing special. Lots of people are like that, I bet. We go through school being told that if we do well, we pick a college and we'll get a job, and from there we get a good life. Never really sure what I wanted to do though. I studied, I did my work, but I never found a passion, I guess. Math, science, writing, history, technology, that was really interesting to me, so I just sort of went through the motions. Sounds to me like you didn't have any real direction for what you wanted to do, or anything you were passionate about. The truth is, there was one thing I liked. Competition. Competition. Games. It's simple, really. Everyone loves games. Just silly competitions most of the time, where you follow some rules, you have to compete with your friends. Sometimes you cooperate too, but I've always loved them. When I was young, it was just card games and board games. As I got older, I started playing more video games, started playing on my computer. Not a special story, really. Tons of people get sucked into games and do nothing but binge hours upon hours. My mother usually would scold me, telling me time and time again I was spending too much time playing them. I thought that she was just an annoying thorn poking me in the side. I think most people think of their parents when they're overly doting. I certainly thought so with my dad. Still do in a way. Yeah, hindsight is 20/20. All those comments, I ignored every single one. Eventually I just got dull to everything she said about me and kept playing. Naturally, my grades started to slip since I stopped studying as much. I became more and more of a hermit. Not bad enough where I couldn't get accepted into college, but enough that my mother's concerns only continued to grow. Then, when I finally went off to college, none of my habits changed. I didn't care about getting good grades or studying or doing anything. All that mattered was that I had a place to myself, my mother wasn't breathing on my shoulder, and I could just play to my heart's content. Feeling the story doesn't end well. What tipped you off? My healthy gaming addiction or the fact that I'm a depressed dishwasher that feels he's got nothing going on in his life? Well, I didn't mean the story, but I got kicked out of there quick. A semester in and gave up trying anything. Academic suspension because of how intense my failure was. I remember going home for winter break and waiting till the last day to tell my mother. She was pissed, outraged, and of course she'd be. She felt validated. She was right all along after all. Those damn games took a hold of my life and I didn't care. Well, the only time I cried from the whole thing was my mother locked away my laptop as punishment. Isn't that pathetic? Even after everything, I never learned my lesson. I just wanted to keep on playing and forget about the world. Eventually, I just got that job as dishwasher because laying around the house was being a sad sack of shit wasn't something my mom tolerated. Oh my gosh. It was repetitive, it was pointless, but at least it was work I was doing. I was good enough at it that I just sort of kept doing it. My mom kept prodding me to reapply to college or just community college. I never did. I just gave up on everything. Days just sort of blurred together. Couldn't even stand to look at my mother again. I just felt like a failure in every sense of the word. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to try anything. I just felt that everything was over. Besides, you can't possibly think yourself a failure for hitting one obstacle like that in life. I wish I could tell myself that and believe it. I wish I could. I just haven't felt good about myself in a long time. Sometimes I feel like I deserve it. Ugh, times like these make me wish that I actually took those therapy lessons. Look, I can't instantly make you feel better or anything, but you've got a lot of life to live. Maybe things didn't go as planned, maybe you had a series of road bumps, and maybe you need professional help to work out your issues. It's not over. You've got plenty of time to change, to improve, and you've shown time and again that when you put your mind to something, you can do it. At the very least, make yourself up for the next game. You have to try your hardest, and you can't believe that now is like those other times where you're destined to fail. Why are you trying to hype me up right now? Next game, only one of us can win it. You could just leave me depressed and take advantage of it. Why would you do that? Just to be sure I'd get a win in the next game? Yeah. Well, to me, winning the game isn't really all that important to me. Not? Then why are you here? Why are you doing all this? I'm not saying it's not important. I do want to win. I have a wish I want granted. All in all, it's not a wish that's worth breaking someone down over. Honestly, if I can, I'd like to help you out after all this. After all this. I told you before, right? If it dies, not the end, we'll wake up. Maybe these stressful situations force us to open up about ourselves. Maybe it's so we connect to one another. Connect to one another and then kill each other in games. Sounds kind of stupid, to be honest. Maybe. I could be wrong, after all. I'm not Belle. I don't know why she does the things the way she does. I know what my father's told me, and he's never led me astray. So there's no harm in hoping. If I do manage to get out of this in the end, maybe I can try and do something different and get better. That's the winning attitude to have. Winning attitude, huh? Before we continue our conversation, I heard footsteps coming in from the last door. Ah, the others! We'll find out who it is next time. Who are our other two opponents going to be for the last game of this route? I don't know. I hope not William, because he's annoying. I know I'll do his ending sometime, but thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. Apologies for how congested this game makes me feel. I really do think it's because I do all these different voices. My voice is going wow, 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 all over the place. Just doesn't like it, I guess. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. If you really enjoyed it, consider supporting our channel. All this work really helps keep being content like this and more. Find links for that in the description below, along with links to me on social media. So thank you again for watching. Thank you again to Vicarious PR for the code for the game. And until next time, this is rinimt signing out. Bye!